If you're looking at S&P 500 in this downturn, watch this. One way is to look for this ETF, CSPX, which is listed in London and Dormiston, Ireland, to save yourself some taxes. I'll be covering two parts. The first is risk and valuation, especially answering the question whether S&P 500 is expensive or not. The second, surprise, surprise, if you are really looking at S&P 500, I'll also share with you why there are still merits with it, and also it's important to stay invested in the markets. Hi guys, welcome back. Let's start with this first section, which is to answer, is S&P 500 too expensive right now? It's easier to argue that it is. The first sign is quite obvious. If you look around on forums or on X, for example, or you speak around with friends who are savvy in the financial markets, you'll be sensing that many are now chasing hot tips. What is Donald Trump doing? What is Jensen Huang saying? So on and so forth. Because companies and sectors that they have mentioned have skyrocketed. You can see these various examples. Many on the ground are looking for a quick buck. 5 to 10% annualized return doesn't seem good enough already. It's much better to find hot tips and double and 10x your monies in a quick while. These are signs that markets are frothy. Beyond that, it's also quite easy to see that companies right now are actually selling their equity to raise money. This company is flush with cash, 127 billion already in the bank, and yet they are raising monies by selling equity. This is none other than Google. Previously, they were selling debt, which makes sense because interest rates right now are so low, correct? But they've chosen to sell equity in this moment because, as always, if your stock price is rich, you can sell just a little bit to raise money. Why take on debt in the first place to grow your business? Another angle to see symptoms of overvaluation is that there are many mega IPOs coming onto US markets that will eventually form part of S&P 500. When do companies want to list? Quite obviously when valuations are high. And if we look in terms of IPO boom during the dot-com bubble, you realize that many companies just simply added a dot-com and raised money from retail investors. And usually when they list, the share price starts to pop because markets are exuberant. And therefore there's a lot of demand for IPO and they can raise a lot of money even though they are still not profitable or even though the listing valuation is just absurd. Right now today, we see SpaceX listing. We're seeing OpenAI and Anthropic in the pipeline. And these companies are approaching the $1 trillion valuation. Question is that when they list, market's liquidity could get sucked in. And as the saying goes, the bull market ends when the last dollar has entered into the market. Nobody's sure when the bull market will end, but these are typical symptoms. Speaking about SpaceX, its price to sales ratio, I don't know if you've seen it, is absurd. If we compare across all the mega caps where they listed, what was the price to sales ratio? Maybe they weren't profitable, it's fine. But price to sales is not price to earnings. It's just purely sales before all the expenses are counted even. You see Amazon at 4 times price to sales, Meta 7, Apple 10 times, Tesla, Microsoft, Alphabet, so on and so forth listed at 10 to 20 times thereabouts. SpaceX is in a league of its own. 93 times price to sales, that is crazy. And we're not even talking about profitability because its losses are still ballooning up. And arguably, SpaceX could make S&P even more overvalued. Another matrix is to see this price to sales applied across S&P 500. How many of them are valued at more than 10 times? You see that .com, it was 21%. The number of companies in S&P 500 with 10 times price to sales. This figure spiked up in COVID, but that's just a blip because revenue dropped. But after 2023, we realized with the AI boom, more and more companies are valued at more than 10 times price to sales. The usual suspects are all from the AI space. And indeed, this could be another confirmation point that S&P 500 is overvalued. Disclaimer again, while I speak to here, overvalued doesn't mean it will crash tomorrow. Maybe at this moment, market is coming down. And if you're keen, this next chapter is to cover how you should approach investing into S&P 500. And the first point is to expect muted performance when you buy in today. Nobody knows what will happen in 1 week and 1 month's time. You can't control that, but you can control your own expectations. Take note again, S&P 500 did very well in the last few years. 2023, 24%. 2024, 23%. Back-to-back 20+% gains. 2025, 16%. Still a very respectable amount. And the first time in many, many years, the S&P 500 has clocked more than 15% in 3 consecutive years. The only other period, .com crash. Currently, at this point of filming, S&P 500 is up already year to date, 7%. Question we have to ask, how much more upside is there? 3%, 5%? Unless you're very sure that S&P 500 will trend to 8,000 points by the end of this year. This will make 4 consecutive years of double-digit gains, only mirrored in .com because now AI boom is the same as .com boom. Maybe in that sense, there's strong reasons to be super optimistic. If not, I'll share with you what I do in my advisory work. Do you know what I tell clients typically? For retirement planning, we aim using only 5%. If you can get there with 5%, anything above is a bonus. Very prudent, very conservative. But in the last few years, the performance in portfolios I manage are more than 17% annualized. So 5% is really a low hurdle rate. Usually now I say 5 to 10%. Still very modest, as I would like to keep it to be. But why say such a low target amount? Wouldn't some clients or some who want to work with me get a bit concerned, and maybe I can find better returns outside? Why don't I say 17% annualized return to win that investment over? I've been in business long enough to share with you also that high expectations lead only to disappointment. Disappointment leads to impatience, and impatience lead to poor investment emotions. In equity markets, we need to be calm about it. When markets crash, we need to not be running, but instead see it as opportunity. That is when the best returns tend to come from. Okay, so if you've learned something, help me smash the like button so we can reach a bigger audience together. I'm filming this late at night because I had a hectic week. All I'm asking is just a quick appreciation with the thumbs up button. Thank you very much. And let's move on to the second point on what to consider first before you invest, which is to consider diversification. S&P 500 has done well, but I don't know if you notice, even with its double-G gains, many other markets have done better in the last few years. By simply quoting S&P 500 against World Index, S&P 500 VOO, I use VOO, which is Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, versus Vanguard Total World ETF, yellow line, you would see that the yellow line in this 1 year has done better. 7.7% versus 6.3%+, which means the rest of the world, which includes Europe, Japan, so on and so forth, have pulled up the world index to beat S&P 500. They are not the only ones. STI is also beaten S&P 500. In the last 1 year, STI did 27%. S&P 500, 20%. 7% more by STI in the last 1 year. And if you look in a longer track record, last 4 years, the gap is even wider. STI is that darkest purple line at the top. The light purple line, that's S&P 500. And for the last 4 years, measured in the same currency, it is 86% versus 52%. More than 30% difference since 2022. So if you come from a perspective of you have a lot of Singapore assets already, then yes, buying S&P 500 and diversifying there makes sense. But if you only have S&P 500, then besides buying more, look to diversify some of the capital that you would like to get invested. In portfolios that I build for private clients, I have a prudent and consistent approach to diversify well, and the goal is to reach financial freedom with the right equity allocations. If you're keen for retirement planning or investment advice, look for my links below. These are some raving reviews from private clients that I work with. Happy to help you build, and I'll answer further questions on how you can get started with the links below. Last but not least, before you invest in S&P 500, I have this to share with you. Don't worry about downswings. I've raised certain points that S&P 500 is likely overvalued, but when it comes down, it means valuations are getting better. It means it's less expensive. Warren Buffett saying is, he'd rather buy good companies at reasonable prices. Applying that principle of reasonable price, if 10% comes down, don't run away. This could be finally an opportunity to buy S&P 500 at a much better valuation. Because if we see returns of S&P 500 after drawdowns, illustrating why we should invest during downturns, after a 10% drop, over the 1, 3, and 5 year period, you are likely to make gains. Markets do have declines, but on the long term, it's always trending upwards. There's 83% chance that you are going to gain, and the average return after 1 year is 15%. If you hold for 5 years, the average return is 68%. If markets go down further, at a 20% drawdown from the top, this will probably be a bear market already. There is a 90% chance that investing now, you would have gains, simply because the price you enter is more favorable. We can have the same tool, same investment, but how you buy, how you enter makes a world of difference, which reinforces a few key takeaways. The first is that historically, larger drawdowns have been followed by higher returns. Secondly, win rates stay very strong across all time horizons. Look to 3 and 5 years, and you'll see that you're almost certain of making gains, despite the markets coming down right now. The third is to stay invested through downturns. Keep this in mind, and hopefully you take the right action steps. Thank you very much for listening in, and check out some of these previous videos that can help you become a better investor. With that, I'll from here. See you there. Take care as always. Goodbye.